Get the helmet off. Yes.
Ooh, bacon.
Greetings, Tasty Morsels. It's Reverse BLT here. Welcome back to the channel. And I am continuing with Silo today. Getting into episode 2 of the first season, which is called Holston's Pick. They're 140 years past some sort of a cataclysm. Well, more than that, past a cataclysm, but like 140 years ago, supposedly, there was an uprising within the culture of the Silo, where a bunch of rebels tried to basically break open to the outside, were put down by the authorities, and erased all of the history and everything, supposedly. The sheriff's wife,
What's her name?
played expertly by Rashida Jones, I was very impressed by her performance, basically goes down a rabbit hole of finding out the reality of, well, supposedly the reality of what's really outside, which is apparently this green, lush world, the far cry from the wasteland that they were told, and ends up making the one declaration you absolutely can't make in their society, which is, I want to go outside. So she gets put in a suit and sent out to clean the sensors that send a data feed, supposedly, of the outside world to everyone on the inside through these big window screens. Like, so they're not actual windows, they're just screens showing what's supposedly happening outside. She told her husband that she was going to, start cleaning the screen if she got out there and saw that everything really was a nice, lush environment, like she thought it, like she was telling him it was. So she did clean the screen, but then she started walking away like she said she was going to do, got maybe 15, 20 feet away, and then apparently dropped dead. So the question at the moment is whether that really happened or if the AI simulated, because I'm assuming there is an AI running all of that, so whether it was a simulated image. If it was real, then my theory is that the supposed rebreather pack on the suit basically just pumps the suit full of poison when they go out there, and so that they can't come back to spread their dangerous ideas or anything like that. And if there is an AI, then yeah, she's just out there running around now, or at least was. It's 2 years later. Her husband went and locked himself up and then told his deputy, I want to go outside. So now he's going to be sentenced to the same thing she was. I was theorizing about who might know in the last episode, like who might know what's going on, like the truth of their society. And I came down to 3 people I at the very least suspect, or one of them's a group. So there's the judicial people, who I figure, because they seem to be in charge of everything, I figure they have to know. So whoever they are, and I'm leaning towards them actually not being real, but actually being a function of the AI that I think we're going to discover exists and actually runs their society. But that has, the judicial people have to know. I figure the mayor should know. Whether or not she does, I'm not sure, but she should know. And I think that the guy in charge of IT would almost certainly have to know, just because he oversees so much involving the computers and technology that it would be hard to keep the person in that position in the dark. So I'm thinking he probably knows too. And also, it's Tim Robbins. It's like, I say this all the time, but you don't cast really big names in roles that aren't going to have a ton of meat on them. And so far, we haven't seen a lot of interesting things from him. So I think it just makes sense that he's probably in on the conspiracy too. I'm very curious to see what the deal is with Juliet. She's being played by Rebecca Ferguson, so obviously going to be a very important person in the show. I figure she's probably the main character of the series as a whole, and that the sheriff is probably going to disappear from the story, at least for a little while after this episode. But then again, he's also a massive star. Adewale, I can never say his name right. I'm I gotta figure out a nickname for you. Maybe I'll just call you Ade. But because that's just, without actually seeing it on paper, I just can never say his name.
You are made of stupid.
I love me a good mystery. This show has a significant mystery element, pulling off of and also just referencing a lot of other similar stories, which I love. I love seeing the little, I think anyway, nods to other stories that have been set in similar universes or done similar things, like the nods to THX 1138, to Fallout to BioShock and things like that. It's been fun seeing that in the set design and stuff. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying this. This is the result of a recommendation from Angela D, who is a patron on Patreon, because Patreons, I don't know, I never know whether to say Patreons or patrons. Patrons sounds better to me because it's a real word.
A very sensible decision.
Patrons get to tell me what to do. So if you also want to get to tell me what to do, go ahead and consider signing up to support the channel on Patreon. I would really appreciate it. There are no tiers. Pay what you want. If you don't want to, or you can't afford it, that's fine. You know, just leave a like, because likes do a lot to help the channel. They really do. The algorithm is a merciless beast. Gotta feed it. But yeah, I'm very curious to see where we're going with this. I don't think the sheriff's going to get out of being sent outside. So I'm wondering if we're going to get to see more with, you know, what's out there when he is sent outside. If that even happens this episode. I have a feeling that we're going to actually do more flashbacks showing what he learned through his, after meeting Juliet, that finally convinced him that his wife wasn't crazy, and that maybe going outside is actually a good thing.
Have you any last words?
Sorry for all of us.
I love the inclusion of the suit design from 2001. Really kind of even hammering home the idea that they're going out to explore like a new frontier.
But it isn't true.
We do not know when it will be safe to go outside. We only know that day is not this day.
And there's a lot to be said for the symbolism of ascending. Oh, yellow-o. Oh, yellow-o. Oh, yellow-o. I keep calling him Adewale. Times like that where I think my foreign friends would say my American is showing. It's an intriguing opening, and I'm looking forward to knowing enough for this to really like be recontextualized. Because I noticed in the first episode that a lot of it was making me think of like parts of the human body, like. But then in this, I also noticed we had what looked like, you know, like a crankshaft. So machines of different types, biological and mechanical. It is very interesting that there's this ridge, sort of obscuring everyone's view. You can only really see what, about 200, 300 feet. So I'm assuming he made the same deal that she made.
You were right.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait. This could also be a screen, though. The visor and the suit could also be a screen.
They have to see.
Just take your helmet off. If you ever see Logan's Run, you'll. It reminds me of a Carousel. It's like euthanasia, but they want it to be a happy moment.
They always clean. And it lasts 3 minutes before the poison gets in. That's the bet.
Even that, the acknowledgement of the fact that there is poison, just not the poison they think. And of course, he doesn't see her body there. Okay, so now we know that it definitely is really happening to them. The question is why. I still think that it's poison that's being pumped into the helmet. Pull the helmet off. Come on, man. Can you get the helmet off? Come on. Ah, smash the glass. Smash the glass against something. There's a rock, but he probably can't even see it.
What's he doing?
Yes, yes, get the helmet off. Yes!
Anyone taken their helmet off before?
Oh, but you know the sad thing is, though, that means that his wife probably did actually die.
Where's he going?
To be with his wife. Sheriff's dead. What happens now?
So now I have even more questions.
If anybody's gonna fight over a sheriff being sent out to clean, let them fight up top or in the midst. Our business is keeping the silo alive!
Yeah, I don't think Rebecca Ferguson's character, Juliet, I'm not sure she's on board with that anymore. I think that thing is probably almost due for a breakdown if it was that easy to burst the leak in it. So did he choose her to take his place? Oh no, this is him. Okay, it's for him. The guy knew cursive. I mean, aren't they always saying that nobody knows cursive anymore because they don't teach it anymore?
It's an older code, sir, but it checks out.
It's a very interesting meditation on the infectious nature of an idea. Because now I assume that, true or not, the sheriff has infected her. The new sheriff, was it Marnes?
I'm a size medium, by the way.
Maybe 20 years ago.
So are you guys together, or?
The Jensen baby's due next week. I used to be able to knock out 25 of these a year, one for every 10th kid. Now I'm lucky if I do 5.
You decide who you're going to pick for sheriff?
I'm not looking at him.
I'll help bring in the next one, but I'm going to retire.
If Holston had been retiring, I could have just followed his wishes. But now, Judicial will try and slip one of their people into the post. Holston didn't say anything to you?
I mean, I would think he would have wanted him to take his place.
I've been looking through the mayor's ledgers. I'm up to 97. So far, not a single instance of a mayor sending a sheriff out to clean.
He went out, but you didn't send him.
I didn't bring this up because I feel sorry for myself. I brought it up because I don't know what happened before these ledgers existed.
You starting to doubt too?
I worry about instability.
That's why we need a new sheriff as soon as possible.
Well, you could be acting sheriff in the meanwhile.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
I need this. No, you're not getting
Guys.
No,
Who are these dudes? And I recognize Common.
Mr. Sims, I got this under control.
Did the names.
Is this Judicial?
Any idea when we'll get a new sheriff? Because there's still a long line at our local recycling.
Interesting. Who is that? Maybe they do have a surveillance system in place. Because I was noticing the absence of that. Oh, no, wait, no. This isn't official.
You still think George was murdered?
Yeah, because he didn't kill himself, so.
How can you be so sure?
Because the last time I saw him, he really wanted to show me something. George was always paranoid because we weren't sanctioned, so he never came to these things. Computer guy!
So relationships have to be approved too, not just reproduction. Now that's something I would never do. I will definitely go with ideas for population control, but people should always be able to be with whoever they want to be with, as long as they're, able to consent.
They're not going to send us to the mines.
You'd be fine down there. Something happened. I can't tell you here, but can I speak to you after?
Yeah, sure. I'm working too late.
Surefire sign of someone who did not kill themselves. They're making plans for the future.
Gotta go.
Okay. So the people in black must be Judicial. Oh, so that was what was on her arm. I thought it was scarring, as tattoos.
When I got off work at midnight, I was exhausted. I was looking forward to seeing George. George?
So far, the series, just from the way they're handling these flashbacks, it feels almost a little bit like an anthology series, where it's like we're just getting a different story that fleshes out the world and the backstory in each episode. They're connected, but it's like the connections are a little loose, if that makes sense. And it's interesting that everybody writes in cursive, because this is clearly meant to be the future, right? But cursive is already considered to be a skill that is dying out.
Hey.
Well, you don't look too hungover.
I'm not. Just sad.
Oh, that is a sad-looking egg.
Why?
You didn't hear?
We just got up here, what?
Computer George went off the stairs last night.
So I'm guessing he didn't know that she was with him. He's too young, I guess. And she played that well, that sense of the world falling out from under you.
I really like the guy. And suicide is a crime against the silo.
Suicide is a crime against the silo. Wow. It's your life. You have the right to get rid of it if you want.
Murder? By who? Why?
I don't know. I just know he didn't kill himself.
If you were in a sanctioned relationship, this would be easier. A partner has certain rights.
I just thought about it. A sanctioned relationship is actually not really any different than a marriage. I think it's just that in their culture, it starts earlier, the idea of whether you're sanctioned or not, you know? So you had to be sanctioned just to date.
Juliet Nichols.
That tattoo must be a pain in the ass to reapply with makeup.
Why do you think he was murdered? You have any enemies?
I just know he...
I told her for murder you need motive and opportunity.
We have opportunity. He died at 3 a.m. No one's on the stairs then, right?
Except for the porters. Yeah. Or judicial. But I don't know if he has the authority to even look into them.
It's a nice watch. Is that a relic?
It's legal.
Said it was nice.
He's very well, or I guess I should say was at this point. He was very observant.
I'm gonna go look at his body again, check for any signs of a struggle.
Okay.
Hate to ask, but maybe there's something you'd see that I don't. But only if you're up to it.
No, yeah. Yeah, sure.
He's probably already figured out that they may have meant more to each other than she's saying.
Looking for anything unusual. Abrasions that wouldn't be consistent with a fall. Evidence of a fight. You ready?
Yep.
I was going to say this is all highly irregular, but I don't know how their system works. So. Yeah. I was wondering if he was going to be paying more attention to her than anything else right now. He's still trying to suss out what her deal is.
Cut their wrists in previous attempts. Then they decide to be sure. So they jump.
Yeah, he's not taking his eyes off of her. He's already sussed it out, I think.
You ever seen
Dead person, yeah. My brother when I was 12, my mother when I was 13. You know, you knew that. So.
Someone says murder, you look into them. Find out what reason they might have for saying
The reason
that.
is because he was murdered, that's why.
But you might not want to believe it's suicide given your history. That's something I can understand.
Oh, did her brother and mother commit suicide?
How long were you and George in a relationship?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Look, if we're gonna figure out what happened, you're gonna have to tell me the truth.
Yeah, seriously. I assume it's just like any other cop. The thing he's investigating is the thing he cares about, not what other stuff you might be into.
Juliet, the not knowing, it's gonna haunt you forever.
Facts. Pez! Good old Pez dispenser. Which absolutely confirms that it is our society that led into theirs.
What is this?
I don't know.
Maybe it was his way of saying goodbye?
He left this with it.
They never let us see what it's written.
Remember where you last saw this?
What? What does that mean? It's a punishable violation of the pact. Is this the tunnel that was in the layout that George was looking at with oh my goodness, Rashida Jones' character. Why do I forget people's names so easily?
Dementia. Hope you're not afraid of the dark. Or tight spaces.
Yeah, I couldn't go in there with you. The tight spaces part ruined it. But this doesn't look too bad so far. I was expecting much worse than this when she said tight spaces. Dead man's hole.
That sounded dirty.
Hey, careful.
Yes, dead man's hole.
What's down there?
You'll see.
I'm sitting here contemplating the tech level and age and everything for the different devices they use. Whether or not they're things that this culture was being shown could be building new versions of, or if there are things that would have had to have come from before everything happened that they're somehow able to maintain. There's a lot that goes into stuff like this. Creating the lenses, creating the bulbs, creating and charging batteries. All of that stuff requires a certain level of technological sophistication that's difficult to maintain in a post-apocalypse.
Work lights here at one time. Only these ones are left.
That looks like a drill.
What is that?
Best guess it's what's left of the machine that dug the silo. Here he goes. Digger comes down this far. There's no easy way to get it out, so...
Yeah, you just build over it.
Just walled it off. 30-foot cap of concrete.
30-foot cap of concrete over something this big, that's significant engineering. And we haven't seen anything with this culture that would lead me to believe that they could build something like that. Any engineers in the comments, sound off on the difficulty of building this.
Last time I saw this thing was down here.
I have a couple of Pez dispensers. I love those things.
The secret. You know, if you ever got caught.
Statue of Liberty.
Didn't want to be sucked in.
Are these all relics?
Is that a Dalek? Oh, old. Is that a camera or?
Before.
Yeah, camcorder.
No idea what it is.
The beauty of our technology is it's designed so thoroughly for us to use that just us messing with it for a little while, we probably would be able to figure out how to work it again, even if we had no idea what it was.
He'd be looking for something.
Looking for what?
I don't know. He never told me. He just said that he'd know it if he saw it.
It's probably that camera.
That's odd. This plastic wire used to be wrapped around the spool.
That feels a little odd to me that she knew where to find that, but I guess I'll just have to suspend my disbelief a little on that one. They're doing a decent job with the CGI, because I'm certain that this isn't, you know, that the gaps and everything aren't practical. Maybe some of them are. Hard drive?
What is that?
That's a rucksack containing... Is that a laptop? No. Oh, there's the hard drive.
You never mentioned this. Said what might be on it?
No.
There's the thing you printed out from your wife.
There's handwriting on the back. That's not George's handwriting.
No, he'll recognize it.
It's my wife's.
You think your wife knew George?
Allison did some IT work for him not long before she
Allison, there we go.
Well, why didn't you tell me that? If George and your... Shit, the watch. You'd seen it before, hadn't you? That's why you checked his wrists.
Clever.
This is a red level relic, making it a threat to order in the silo.
I don't care about the order in the silo.
We need explanations for why people have different accents here.
Nobody cares.
Bottom half of the note George left me.
I found what I was looking for. Why didn't you show this to the sheriff?
George told me that whatever he was looking for was more dangerous than any relic. He was afraid me even knowing about it could get me sent out.
What was he looking for?
I don't know if I can trust you, lady.
I wish you said who should take the job.
He did.
Why did you wait until now to tell me?
Because it's ridiculous, and if anything, it's a sign.
Oh my God.
He wasn't quite there.
Is it Juliet?
Why her?
Like I say, he wasn't in his right mind at the end.
I want to meet her.
I'll message and have her start up tomorrow.
No. I'll go to her.
Oh, yeah? 144 levels?
I just sent a sheriff out to clean. I need to walk the silo. The people need to see their mayor.
People should always see the people who are in charge of them. People forget that a lot of times. They think that authority is about power. They forget how much it's about responsibility. That's the primary thing it's about. You're responsible to the people you have authority over. You're not there to lord over them. You're there to serve them.
Very nice words, but happens to be wrong.
So Holston wants her to have the power to investigate without having to worry too much.
What do you need it for?
To get where I'm going.
Okay, where's that?
Fast.
Time machine!
Why would anyone put a door at the bottom?
I know that the water scares you.
Yeah, it scares me too.
I'm gonna look her up. So is Rebecca Ferguson like Irish or whatever?
What if you?
Because I keep hearing
the rope. What if you can't get back?
The sort of D sort of TH sound that Irish people from, and I think Scottish people do it too. Where it's like there becomes there.
If you're gonna go down there.
See, if you're gonna go down there.
Oh shit, was that racist?
I don't want to know about it until after.
So I'm wondering if she's trying to do a U.S. accent and, you know, it's just having a little bit of difficulty, or if they wanted her to have this sort of like hybrid accent kind of thing going on. Her performance is fantastic regardless. I mean, it's just one of those things I'm curious about. Man, I hope you are a very strong climber. Especially considering that your hands are going to be wet coming back up. Do you even know if that's going to hold your weight? And make sure you tied that knot off right. It was one of those times where you take the time to tie off footholds. I can't remember how to do that anymore, but it's a good thing to do if you're able. Well, she's doing her feet right. And I guess, you know, considering her job, she probably has a very high upper body strength ratio. No, you need that. Also, odds are pretty bad that that watch is going to be waterproof. Can you swim? Having the headlamp fall off was done so that we could see how deep it was. So if she can't swim, she's fucked. And the mystery deepens. Another solid episode. I really like how they're handling this. Non-linear storytelling is always a very risky thing to do when you're telling a story. I personally think that telling the story out of order was what harmed the Book of Boba Fett the most out of anything. So it's just, you have to be very careful when you decide to tell a story that way. The things you do in the past have to clearly tie into the things you're doing in the present, and they both have to be interesting. I think the show is doing a very solid job with that so far. I am very invested in the mystery, which is great because that's obviously the big thing that this is all about. I'm liking all the different characters. The only thing is, of course, with it being a mystery, is that there's going to be a little confusion that starts to sit in while you're getting details, but you haven't gotten enough of them to know what order they fit together in and to start seeing the big picture really, you know, clearly so far. And of course, there are other things that they're doing where, and I don't know whether this is them trying to be, I forget the word for it, but trying to keep the exposition real worldish. So like, for instance, it would be very strange for me to explain what a cell phone is to a friend of mine. So, because they know what a cell phone is, just like I do, because we grew up in the same society with these devices. So, you know, if someone were to write a scene for an alien audience set on Earth, it would be unnatural to have me in the scene with my friend describing what a cell phone is. So we saw Common earlier, and the guys in black with him, and we were able to glean from their interactions with everybody that they were probably judicial. And then later we had a natural bit of dialogue to kind of when George was talking to Juliet in her flashback, and two more of those guys dressed all in black came in, and I think she mentioned something about judicial, or someone did anyway, which, you know, very good way to do that bit of exposition. The only thing I worry about with this kind of a setting is that the mysteries that are being set up either won't get answers or won't get satisfactory answers. And for me, a satisfactory answer mainly comes down to whether it makes sense. I don't sit there looking for the answer to be profound necessarily, or cool, or anything like that, but I need it to make sense. I need it to be something where once I know what is going on, I can look back at everything else that came before it, and it logically proceeds from what we've been presented and makes sense within the world that we've been presented. It's interesting, this idea, I touched on it earlier, of like how information can become almost like a disease in a sense, like it becomes infectious. You know, how we saw these people that Allison encountered in the first episode who had their own doubts and had discovered their own little pieces of information, and it spread to her, and it's like she became patient zero. You know, she became this person who had the full-on disease erupt of needing to know, and then infected like her well, actually made the infection worse for George, and then infected her husband with it, who we now know how, well, at least apparently how his story ended. And George infected Juliet, and also the sheriff infected Juliet. So now she's getting, you know, at the beginning of this growing need to know the truth. It's a fascinating idea. You know, I'm wondering if the series is meant to be, without being an indictment on the idea of knowledge versus ignorance, or an indictment on the idea that knowledge is better than ignorance. But I wonder if the show is kind of a meditation on the concept of ignorance being bliss, like it being better not to know. From every perspective, like it's just better for you in the long run, and maybe even in a sense morally better, because the actual truth really would just destroy everything. I'd be curious to see if we're going down that road, because it's a hard road to write. I really hope that the next couple episodes, though, that we'll get more up with the judicial people, because it seems like they're slowly being introduced now. And so we've got I guess the major groups that run this place now. We've got the mayor, who I guess just represents, civil authority, the administrative body. So yeah, so we got our executive branch. I don't know what their division of powers are. We've got the acting sheriff and just the sheriff's department. So we've got, and judicial. So we've got the judiciary. But I don't know whether there's a division, because it does seem like there's a division in a way, between the police or the sheriffs and the judicial. We haven't had any indication yet as to who writes the legislation, though, because generally speaking, judicial, that's judges, so they just determine whether something fits within the law. But you usually would have somebody who makes laws, unless the society literally never gets new laws, or I assume also never gets laws struck, which is interesting in and of itself. And then, of course, we have the workers, or the ones who, specifically the engineering area, who keep everything running. And, of course, we have a bunch of different types of jobs outside of that. But I would consider those to be our main groups, It'd be interesting to see how they may clash over the course of this. Because the people running everything definitely seem to be quite content to just not think about stuff for the most part. As we saw with the fight that broke out in the cafeteria that was then put down by the guy from engineering, who was like, this is what we do. We keep this place running, and that's literally all we should care about. That's what we should be thinking about. All this other stuff doesn't matter. And so that's interesting, because it's a very sort of almost fanatical mindset, which I guess would be required to keep a place like this running in a lot of ways. Definitely glad I'm watching this show so far. If this keeps going like it's going, this is definitely going to be in my top 10, maybe even top 5 for the year for series. I'm really liking it a lot so far. Let me know what you guys thought, where you think things are going. As always, use your spoiler tags and spaces so that we don't accidentally spoil me or anyone else, either for the books or the show. And yeah, we can talk about whatever else you want to talk about too. As always, do your best to stay safe and be well. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I will see you for the next one. Bye-bye. Ooh, I just thought of a sign-off for this. Don't dig too deep.
Stop it. Get some help.
Yeah, I know I'm dumb. Anyway, bye-bye.